2022, what a roller coaster ride it's been. Although no major releases came in this calendar year, the future of Assassin's Creed seems ever so bright. With a plethora of new games and settings being announced by Ubisoft. Settings that fans have been asking, you know what, we've been begging for them from a decade and are finally on the verge of getting what we asked for. What a refreshing feeling. Here's me hoping you all have a great 2023 and that the upcoming games are at least not disappointing if not great. But this video is a retrospective on everything that happened in the Assassin's Creed world in 2022. There have been years with little to no movement in terms of exciting announcements, new releases and change in direction, but in the past year, the entire landscape of this universe has been turned upside down. So in this video today, I'm gonna list all the important things that happened in Assassin's Creed. I stressed important because I don't want anybody asking,
why didn't you mention the Iron Man armor?
well, because it sucks.
You just said it by name while denying having said it. Bonk.
And I won't be listing them in any particular order, as some might seem more important to a certain crowd and some may be insignificant for others. I'll also be giving my thumbs up or down depending on my feelings towards the announcement. I implore you all to do the same in the comments section. Now that all that's out of the way, let's freaking go. Assassin's Creed Valhalla has been coming out in installments. I know that sounds weird, but the game is just so bloody big. The developers figured, we can't do this shit at once. So parts of it have been releasing every few months. And no, I don't consider it a DLC because it's 35 goddamn hours of gameplay. Now that's longer than most games' full length. This chapter focused entirely on Odin and his journey to Svartalfheim, the loss of his loved ones, his war with Muspelheim and its ruler Surtur, mystical objects with unfathomable power and the beginning of Ragnarok. Which for those of you who don't know was the event that killed the Isus. Now how's all that connected to Assassin's Creed? Don't ask me, I'm still trying to figure it out myself. But the chapter itself was pretty damn enjoyable. Ton of new locations, fresh storylines, more magical powers, great boss fights. And most importantly, this showed me just how much the gaming industry has leaped forward in the last decade. Because 2012's Assassin's Creed 3 took about 30 hours to complete in its entirety. And now, DLCs are way bigger. I honestly don't know if I should be happy or sad, but I did enjoy it nevertheless. Gets a thumbs up from me. The finale to Valhalla's centuries-long story comes in the form of the last chapter. In my opinion, they should have made this a 45 or 60-minute movie, like Assassin's Creed Embers, as it's pretty short with barely any content and is mostly about how Ivor's story ended. It is free for people who already have Valhalla, but then again, DLCs usually mean expansion of an existing game. But when the heart and soul of said expansion lies in the cutscenes, it can barely be called a game, right? We see Ivor, who's done everything he or she can for the Raven clan, head out to Vinland to get a better understanding of their connection to Odin, where Odin also tells them how the Isus ended, about himself, his journey and more. It's a decent addition and gives the players some much needed clarity. Still think it should have been a movie. Down. This is what I'm extraordinarily excited for, because I strongly believe that Mirage is the savior we've all been looking for. I've seen some people be skeptical or half sold at the idea of this turning out to be a good addition. But when you're a man from the action-adventure era living in the cold, harsh, uncomfortable world of the RPG for so long, it doesn't get better. What are the positives? One, a compact map, because I've seen a ton of people dread the idea of another playthrough or just rage quit the whole thing because of the overwhelming size of games like Odyssey and Valhalla. So a much more tightly knit map, hopefully like Unity's, is a breath of fresh air. 2, more assassins, less mythology. This might not be true for all people, but I feel Assassin's Creed died with the release of Origins, or at least went into a coma. But the resurrection is in the form of Mirage, because we are finally getting an Assassin's Creed game with actual hooded assassins in them. For 5 goddamn years, it was like having a steak with no meat in it. Doesn't make any sense, right? And before anybody says,
Vegan steak.
I'd like to point out how no self-respecting human would ever touch that shit. And 3, better or old school gameplay. The icing on the cake was when I heard how they are bringing back sandbox style assassinations and are placing heavy emphasis on making the parkour, stealth and the overall gameplay feel like it did back in the day. I still think Unity, for all intents and purposes, could be the gold standard of how an Assassin's Creed game should feel. If you wanna know my in-depth thoughts on the topic, the link's above. but this surely gets a massive thumbs up from me. Ubisoft has long been trying to get Assassin's Creed to mobile screens, and this is their first full-fledged attempt. Previously, there have been some outings like Assassin's Creed Identity and Rebellion, but here we've been promised a proper open-world experience on the small screen. However, with that being said, I'm not sold. This series or this experience is just not for a tiny 5-something inch screen. It's like releasing Avatar or Maverick exclusively on the OTT. It just doesn't work. First off, not many hardcore gamers have a high performance phone. And considering that it'll be open world with even decent graphics, the game will probably be pretty damn big. On top of that, I doubt anybody would pay more than $5 or maybe $10 for a mobile Assassin's Creed game. So all that got me real pessimistic. Down. I honestly have no idea what to make of this, but now with some extra bit of details, we at least know what it'll be. Assassin's Creed Infinity is not a game, but a platform rather that will connect old and new Assassin's Creed games under one single hub, which will in turn make it all feel like a single organism, or at least so they say, and then they're gonna add in maps, errors and storylines which will exist independently in the universe, without the need for a player to go through the 12 main games to understand what the is going on. This might just be good. And since I now know that it's not a hidden knockoff of Fortnite, I'm getting positive vibes from it. Thumbs up for sure. Remember that part where I said,
"We've been begging for them from a decade."
well, this is exactly it. Because we are finally visiting feudal Japan, the sweet taste of getting what we want, even though it's been dipped in the rotten sauce of RPG. Codenamed Red is an upcoming game announced at the Ubi Forward event as the first addition into the Infinity Hub. We're also getting the first ever female protagonist in a main Assassin's Creed game.
But what about Cassandra and Ivor?
Okay, RPG nerd. First ever confirmed female protagonist with no extra options or multiple gender pronouns. Are you happy? The release date is yet to be announced, but the early signs point to a good if not great experience, as long as they keep the fantasy bit away. Thumbs up. The live action side of Assassin's Creed has never been its strong suit. On the contrary, it's probably the worst, with 2016's Assassin's Creed movie being outright unbearable, even with a solid Academy Award winning cast such as Marion Cotillard and Jeremy Irons. So when I hear that Netflix are attempting a series on Assassin's Creed, my instant feeling is fear. It's fear. Even with high-profile names such as Jeb Stewart of Die Hard fame being hired for writing. Also, there's a bunch of Assassin's Creed mobile games being developed for Netflix's video game section. I'm gonna go ahead and predict the future. It's gonna be a total shit show. A big thumbs down. What this is a full-blown multiplayer-only game, releasing under the Infinity umbrella, so essentially it's the Call of Duty or Counter-Strike of Assassin's Creed. How do I feel about it? Here's the reason. I've stated in many videos before how I'm not a fan of multiplayer games, because I'm a guy who plays for the lore. And the heart and soul of this franchise is, was and always will be the stories. And just maybe the developers will come up with a concept where multiple players are needed to finish a storyline. But at the end of the day, the plot itself will always take a backseat in such a setting, because co-op missions are about a group experience. So I doubt anybody will be paying attention to the ongoing narrative. This gets it down. Another title that has me all confused, because it has all the markings of magic and witchcraft, while also existing in the Assassin's Creed universe, which itself is a contradiction unless they present it as some form of science. But then again, after Dawn of Ragnarok, they can connect anything to Assassin's Creed, be it Titanic or La La Land. It's widely presumed to be set in 16th century Europe, so if nothing else, we'll get a good setting. Thumbs up. After all these major announcements, I asked myself one question, and this might not sit well with everyone, but do we really need this much Assassin's Creed? Let's take a head count. There's 4 main titles, 1 mobile game and 3 Netflix games, 1 Netflix series, and like that's not enough, a full-blown online hub that will constantly add new content every once in a while for a never-ending experience. Talk about total overdose. This is one thing that I really appreciate about Rockstar Games. Despite people asking for a game every couple of years, they take their own sweet time to make absolute perfection. And the end result, one game of theirs makes more money than 10 games from other developers. And also the excitement and anticipation is through the roof for every subsequent release. But clearly, Ubisoft is playing the numbers game when it comes to Assassin's Creed. Let's just wait and watch how it turns out. Don't forget to tell me in the comment section below what your thoughts are about every single one of these announcements. And advance Happy New Year to all of you, my fellow assassins. So until next year, stay safe, stay strong, and stay tuned. It's your boy VZX for the last time in 2022, signing out.